This is PC 747. It's been a while. I haven't been on here quite a bit of time. Been busy. I've been meaning to do a lot of projects such as go back over, my feelings about the Pixels 2 XL, and there's just a lot of things I really wanted to get to. And unfortunately, with the holiday schedules and all the things going on, I just haven't got the opportunity to do so. But today, man, there's a lot of things going on in the news today. Everything from net neutrality to Disney buying Fox. And yeah, I definitely still got to go back over, my feelings of the Pixel 2 XL now that I had it for I'd say about almost 2 months now, a month and a half, 2 months. So let's get started. Let's start with the big news right now, or one of the big news, and that's the whole net neutrality thing. And up leading to that, there have been a lot of talk about it, about everybody kind of, not wanting to see this thing repealed for the simple fact that there's been a lot of concerns that we may see, quote, the fast lanes where you have a lot of companies out there looking to charge you money to use this or money to use that, and to kind of turn the internet into another cable service, where you got to buy a package for this, and there's just a lot of concerns there, and yeah, rightfully so, especially right now with, the reality being that companies like Comcast and all the other companies out there they're finding themselves looking up to a lot of your cord cutters who say, you know what, I'm not spending 100, 200 bucks for cable. I just go ahead and get the internet and use Netflix and this and that. And they were losing money there. They were trying to find a way to compete with that market. And AT&T looked at ways of trying to do that by now they own DirecTV, looking at trying to find ways to package it in there with their phone service. And yeah, obviously, they had their toes stepped on by the government because they're like, look, it's too close to again violating net neutrality, and it kind of hindered what companies like AT&T and T and Verizon and all the other companies were looking to do. Now that this law or this whole thing is repealed, it brings back the possibility of what we are concerned about. The simple fact that you may want to go out there and cut the cord and say, you know what, I'm not spending 200 bucks for Comcast when I can just buy this channel or that channel. Now Comcast can say, okay, look, you can either spend this amount of money to buy into the service we're offering you through our cable service, or we're going to charge you more to stream what you're going to stream. We're going to charge you more to stream your Netflix. We're going to charge you more if you want to go the route of a Sling TV or a YouTube TV. We're going to make you pay more. That way, we, in a way, force you, or if not force you, still make money one way or another. And that is a big concern that a lot of us have. Now, I think a lot of the reasons why we saw the vote go the way it did is a simple fact for, well, the obvious reasons. Money, that's what it's about. The big companies like Verizon, AT&T, they saw the opportunity to make this change, and as a result of that, they're looking to see ways of making profit now, ways of challenging, like I said before, your streaming services. But with now you seeing that, I don't see any way that we're going to go back to where people are wanting to really do the whole cable box thing. I think um, cable cutting have really come a long way, and we're starting to see a lot of companies now lining themselves up to be able to compete with that, coming up with their own little streaming service to compete with Netflix, to compete with all these other streaming services out there. And in another story I'm about to bring up, pretty much put two companies in a position to do such a thing and really challenge the whole market as far as what we know. But to go back to what I was trying to get at my point, why the vote may have went a certain way, I think there just wasn't enough people in the when I say the world, but who had the knowledge or we're about to be concerned about what was going on. In other words, there wasn't enough people revolting and complaining, panicking, or, you know, going to various people and saying, "Hey, this shouldn't happen." At least until it was too late. In other words, there wasn't a lot of care for that, and that is evidence in just looking at the news. That is not the top thing on the news right now. That is far from there. There are a lot of people, in fact, the majority of people who could care less that net neutrality is gone, who can have the slightest of concerns, because a lot of them they still go through cable anyway, and they're not cord cutters. So the reality is that I think that when they repealed net neutrality, they were able to ride the wave and understand, or ride the understanding that there just wasn't enough people who knew enough about it to be really concerned about it. And about time they are to be concerned about it, it's too late. Now, before those of you out there start to panic and go, man, net neutrality is gone, woe is me, what are we going to do now? Look, the market always changed. People going to always find a way to evolve and figure out ways around things. So I'm pretty sure that, yes, we may see an impact that may hinder us here and there, but I really think for the most part, we will find a way around whatever issues that come up, and we will continue on. And let's go to another story that just broke, and that is Disney buying Fox for 52.4 billion. Now, for those who, this is really, really, really big. In fact, I'm watching CNBC Money and Fox Business, going back and forth there, and that's pretty much the big talk right now, because that is something that really is going to change the whole industry for a lot of things: sports, movies, TV shows. We're talking about right now Disney owning that to be able to control so much, and now that puts them at a really strong position to compete with Netflix and really change the whole streaming industry overall. Because before this deal, we already knew Disney was working on their own little program, or own little streaming services similar to Netflix, utilizing their Marvel properties and so on to compete with Warner Brothers was already thinking about doing as well. And now they were able to add the Fox lineup to there. They add sports to there, which means not only do they have ESPN, but they now have Fox Sports News. They got football on both channels. This really changes the game as far as the market and what we're going to see going forward. For those who are big, comic book movie fans, that mean the possibility that Disney will get some of their properties that they lost, or not lost, but sold to Fox years ago. And finally, for my last little talk real quick, is the simple fact that I am now a month and a half into my Pixel 2 XL. I actually weathered the storm with the complaints about the screen issues and all the other various things that came out, that I will have to admit I was one of the people who was concerned about that, and worried that, hey, look, this may be a problem. Now, before I, try to overlook some of the, or tell you to overlook a lot of the complaints that people say, I will admit that if you take the display and you compare it to something like an iPhone and Samsung, you can tell that those two I have a lot more pop than with the LG panel that they use. In fact, I do agree that LG right now have the weaker of the panels, and I really wish Google would have went the route of using a Samsung panel on this. With that said, I have to be honest with you. After using it, I hardly notice. I enjoy the phone. The battery life is outstanding. I mean, the fact that I can go 12, 14, 15 plus hours on a single charge, 3 to 4 hours of screen on time, and not even have to look for a charger. It's just the little things like that. And then you add to that the fact that let's take a lot of the complaints that came out over a couple months from the possible burn-in issue that people had concerns about, which I did as well. The muted colors, the fact that we didn't have an option to at least add a little bit more pop to it versus uh, the way that Google wanted to push. There were just so many complaints that were out there, but the fact that in the course of 2 months, I've already had 2 updates that fix majority of the complaints out there. Everything from the possible burn-in to sound issues, voice recording issues, the color issues, all of that have been changed and fixed. In fact, the only thing that they were not able to fix is the blue tint, which for me, I hardly notice it, but I do know it's there, especially when compared to like or using it in an all-white background and having that at a really really bad angle. But overall, yes, this is by far a really good phone. For those out there who have a Samsung phone, and look, I'm not here to bash the Note 8 or whatever. Look, the Note 8 was a good phone. I had it for a couple days when I was doing my review and possibly looking to buy it. But there's just something about a Google phone getting swift updates, already being on 8.1, while a lot of phones out there are still testing 8.0. We get the latest updates. We get the full support of Google. We get great battery life, and we get just a clean phone that performs well. And for a lot of us out there, that's what we want. Front-facing speakers just add the extra pop as far as sound. I'm impressed with this phone overall, and I would highly recommend someone getting this phone, especially if you're coming from Google phones in the past. If you're someone who's on a fence, you have a Nexus 6P, you heard all the complaints out there, um, or you just a Google fan in general, and you heard all the complaints out there about the display, don't do this, and look, I highly recommend get the phone yourself. If you don't like it, return it. But I know for myself, since I've taken the phone out the box, put my glass screen protector on it and used it, it's performed well for me. And yeah, I don't have any complaints at all. Um, I think the only issue or challenge you may find is find a glass screen protector for it, but I was able to find one that so far is working pretty good. Hopefully it stays that way. But hey guys, that's it for me, PC747. Got a chance to get back on the mic again and talk about some things from my thoughts of the Google Pixel 2 XL, a quick little talk about the buyout with Disney and Fox, and finally, the story that are concerns for many, which is net neutrality.